Private Charles W. Sturgis was a member of the 62nd New York Volunteers Company A. He enlisted for the Union on June 30th, 1861, and fought throughout the entire American Civil War. In his very first battle in Fair Oaks, he was injured by a gunshot to his foot. It took him nearly a year to recover, but he returned in the Battle of Chancellorsville. In this battle, he was severely wounded by a partial gunshot to his face. Despite these injuries, Sturgis returned to the front lines for the Battle of Gettysburg only 1 month later. After Gettysburg, Sturgis was honorably discharged due to his wounds. Still, Sturgis re-enlisted only 1 year later. Only 1 month after he re-enlisted, he was shot in the arm in the Battle of Cold Harbor. This wounded hero was returned to the Appomattox Courthouse, and he was present there for General Lee's surrender. At this point, Sturgis had seen a great deal of the battles of the Civil War, and is truly a hero for the Union. However, Sturgis is not the only hero. He is surrounded by a sea of other heroic stories throughout the war. War can change the lives of all people involved, but there is no doubt soldiers are the most affected. Private Sturgis had his entire life and body changed permanently by the war, along with thousands upon thousands of other soldiers. The Civil War had a huge effect on people's lives, whether in the North or South. The only way to truly understand this effect is to put yourself in the shoes of a soldier. Imagine yourself as a citizen of the North or South of the United States in 1860. You could be from any walk of life, any place, or hold any or no job. As war breaks out, inspiration to join the army is all around you. A friend of yours may be enlisted and is asking you to join with him. Maybe you attend a war meeting, where you are enticed into signing an enlistment paper through drinking, singing, even gambling, and other types of merriment. Both sides allow blacks to enlist, despite discrimination against them in the armies. For the most part, enlistment is high during the early stages of war, but drops significantly as the war draws on. Eventually, the Union will react to decreasing enlistment by creating a mandatory draft for all men between the ages of 20 and 35. Once you sign the papers, you could be subject to very little training before you are brought into enemy territory. While detailed physical examinations, often including somewhat degrading inspections, are consistently carried out, the rest of training is irregular and depends on the regiment and company. While training was the responsibility of the battalion, the army would have wasted no time in getting you to the battlefield. The first part of almost every soldier's battle life was camp. Camp was usually behind enemy lines, however it was well enough secured that some training could go on there. Although you were generally safe from your enemies in camp, your life was far from comfortable. One Union soldier described his daily life like this. The first thing in the morning is drill, then drill again, then drill, a little more drill, then drill, and lastly, drill. Drilling was weapons training, battle tactics, maneuvers, and other similar activities. The soldier did not mention his meals, although they are hardly something to take note of. Most rations, whether in camp or battle, consisted of a pound of salted meat, a pound of bread, a few ounces of coffee, and a pound of cornmeal per soldier per day. Every week or so, some dehydrated fruit or vegetables would be distributed to a group of 100 soldiers, but still many soldiers on both the north and south sides went for months on end without any fruit or vegetables. Soldiers had to be ready to march at any time. One Union soldier described the battle march like this. We marched directly south until we were between 10 and 20 miles from Petersburg. We lay until 10 o'clock p.m., expecting to move at any moment, when we received orders that we would not march until 2 o'clock a.m. These marches led to even more despicable battles. Many battles were fought underneath the burning summer sun, with evenly matched weapons that resulted in a total bloodbath on both sides. For example, in the Battle of Gettysburg, about 160,000 soldiers were engaged, and of those, 50,112 are killed, missing, wounded, or captured by the enemy. The numbers do not work out well for the soldiers. If you were injured in battle, medics would attempt to help you in the open air of the battlefield until the field hospital tent was invented by Dr. Andrew Flint Sheldon. This design led to thousands of saved lives, and the basic model is used until present day. Even worse conditions are in store for you if you are captured by the enemy. One Confederate prison named Andersonville is notorious for having inhumane conditions. One Union soldier described his time there like this. Our settling down consists in spreading our blankets on the filthy floor, but 1 or 2 of us are given bunks, and these are glad enough to leave them to their past inhabitants, the vermin. The fact that soldiers survived this type of life is truly incredible. At this point, one important question appears. What is so important about the soldiers of the Civil War that we spend our time learning about them? There are many different answers to this question, because different people can take away different things. However, one point stands steadily true for all. These soldiers, Confederate or Union, were heroes. They stood up and risked their very lives for what they believed was true and right. Even those on the battlefield who were fighting for slavery were fighting for something they believed was true above all else. And this is the enormous lesson we can take from these soldiers, who stood out on those battlefields and lost their lives by the thousands because they believed in what they were fighting for. They believed in their ideals enough to stand up and fight to the death against their fellow countrymen. Each and every person on earth must at some point take a stand for what they believe in. That is what the soldiers of the Civil War taught us.